And boom, we are live. Welcome to Tokyo Tonight 2. This is Hiko Simon on August 19th, 2018. Good to see you all. Indeed, Sergeant Bilko, you are here as well as Lampa and Mr. Cordy Chap. Good to see you. Hope we'll get more people rolling in. I'm hoping that everyone is well. I just realized I had that on the wrong screen when I turned on. I was just going through my settings. So let's go load up the old, not the new one. Let's load up tonight's topics with a very impressive statue there, which will be the first thing that we're talking about. And yes, indeed, Sergeant Bilko, good to see you. And I guess we've got probably not so many people at the moment in Japan. It is Obon, the end of Obon. This is the week that within the summer vacation, right? Our kids are on summer vacation, which I obviously know. But within that there is a week which isn't an official public holiday, but it's sort of when companies, if they give a week off to everybody, like manufacturing companies or construction companies, they'll do it this week. So at the moment in Japan, everyone's basically probably just coming back from their trips away, normally to go and see their family and whatnot. In Europe as well, and the rest of the northern hemisphere, I think it's generally still summer vacations, but winding up very, very soon. So I'm guessing that's why a lot of people are out at the moment. But I see that James Kelly is there, and I see Chris is there. That's awesome. Good to see you. And ASDF Bikuri Mark 12131. Any travel tips for the US? Sorry for the unrelatedness from me. Travel tips for the US. Don't get pulled over by the police. I've just been watching more of those videos, which I probably shouldn't do. But I don't know. No, I'm not an expert at traveling in the US. I've only been 3 times. How many times? Maybe 4 times now, but every time it was for work. And where have I been? I've been West Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, San Francisco, which I think was just once, Hawaii once, but the big island of Hawaii, again on a work thing, and Seattle. I've been to Seattle twice. Oh, so you know, it's been 5 times now. In terms of tips, I don't really have any. Yeah, we'll get to that, James O'Hara. Message retracted. Now I'm curious what that is, but it's interesting that you can do that. Degens Konto, good to see you. Degens Konto, welcome. Hey yo, indeed. But no, with America, I don't know. I find people are chill. The food is, okay, sometimes good. You want to visit the US? Yeah. I would really like to travel the US properly, like as a vacation thing. I always had a thing when I was a kid. I wanted to be an astronaut. I actually wanted to end up going to Texas and living there and being an astrophysicist and becoming a mission specialist on the space shuttle. Didn't quite go to plan. It turned out I wasn't so good at math. But I always had this idea of going to America, Los Angeles, and driving all the way, Smokey and the Bandit, sort of, drive, well, not actually running from the police, but driving across the US is something I still would like to do, actually. And I must admit, I'll tell you something, actually, I was meaning to talk about. Kurt Bell, Softy Papa, I never really watched his videos much when he was in Japan. I know he made vlogs and everyone liked watching them. And that's okay, James O'Hara, everyone can see. And good to see you, the J-Vlog, good to see you, boom. So yes, it was, I didn't really watch him very much. He seemed like a nice guy. He did sort of long, kind of interesting sort of blogs, but I didn't really watch them so much. But Victor would watch them, and I had people talking about him. I've started to enjoy, in my Facebook feed, I've now blocked so many things. It's not so much people that I block in my Facebook feed. Whenever someone blocks left or right political stuff, or just rage in triggering sort of stuff, I've learned it's actually really fun. I started to block like most of what I saw on Facebook, and the end result was that I just had a feed of all the nice people, and it's really not that. It's pretty quiet when you actually get rid of all the rage posters. And one of the people that's now left prominently in my feed after filtering out basically all of the sort of horrible stuff there is Kurt, and I'm really enjoying his stuff lately, actually. And he goes out to the desert and he does exploring, and I don't know, I find he's a great person to watch. Mr. Cordy Chap, your computer is being stupid. It wrecked the stream. I'm sorry about that. I hope that gets better for you. One big reminder, which I'll remind at the end of the show as well, 2 weeks from now, actually 2 weeks from yesterday, September 1st, if you can get to Tokyo, to Roppongi, 7 PM, right near the Roppongi intersection, the Tokyo Sports Cafe, couldn't be easier to remember. 3,000 yen nomi hodai, 2 hours. I would say, partly because I organize it and because I don't organize the hanami, I'd say this is the best YouTube party of the year. And the reason it's the best YouTube party of the year is it's in party central of Japan. It happens no matter what the weather. You know, it's a guaranteed thing, and it's just it's a really good party. You know, it's a good bar. It's got lots of screens. People can. I try to put up everybody's videos at the party. And yeah, it's just a really easy thing to do. You know, it's like, and every year that we've done it. We couldn't do it last year, but it's been an awesome party. People travel from all over Japan. They come from overseas. And this is the thing, when people come from all over Japan overseas for the hanami, you know, and there are no flowers or the weather is crap, you're always taking kind of a chance. But with the summer party, we're telling you it's September 1st. It's been out there for a while. The information is in the video information. It's a guaranteed awesome party where you're going to meet lots of people. Lots of people come along to this one. And yeah, we're really looking forward to it. Victor's going to be coming up. There's a few other out-of-towners we know are coming. And we're checking up on people now. If you can make it to Tokyo, make it to Tokyo. It'd be awesome to hang out with everybody. And yes, indeed. So there is that coming up. Perhaps we get into the topics. The other thing I will continue to remind, actually, one thing I'm doing with the party. So it used to be that whenever I do this party, I'd always prepare video playlists of recent videos from everybody who was coming to the party, and it'd be like 120 people. So I'd have to go and find their YouTube channels. I'd have to go and find their videos, pick a video one by one, add it to a playlist, and it took like hours and hours and hours to create the playlist of the videos to put up on the screens of the party. And people liked it, you know, that's why I did it. But it was a lot of, you know, pain to do. And the thing is, after the party, you also want to find who was there. So, you know, people want to find out, you know, people sort of want to discover each other. One of the great things about MyChan TV is that I can create a bundle of channels, an aggregation of YouTube channels based on who's coming to the party, and it will automatically pick up the latest videos from that group of people, and I can put that playlist up at the party, and it will play all of their videos, you know, from newest to oldest. So it actually does all the work automatically. You don't have to create the playlist manually, which took me hours. It just does it automatically, and that playlist is there. And here's the cool thing, these bundles on MyChan TV, I don't know if this was clear before, you can share them with people. I can share these with you guys, and you guys can see who's in the bundle and go and subscribe to everybody. It's a really cool feature. And it's free, and it's working, and it's out of beta. You know, so again, plus you're doing me a favor. At this point, I want to spread the word on it and get some buzz around it, because I've spent like 18 months working on it, and I do think it is the best way to watch YouTube. I really do. It's working really, really well. I'm getting great feedback on it. So I want to spread the word so that I can get to thinking about the next stage with it. So yes, and that'll be a feature of the party. I'm going to bring along some swag and some shirts to the party to give away and so on. And you know, to that extent, I guess I'm going to make MyChan a sponsor of it. So yes, I'd appreciate you guys would help out with that. Anyway, remember, if you want to comment to me during the show, I can see your comments, but I'm reading the stuff which I'm presenting as well. So if you want to get my attention, hey, Tai Nakamura, good to see you, and Odi Jr., good to see you. Who else? Anyone else here? Yes, I think that's everyone at the moment. Remember, if you just do an @ Hiko-Simon, it will flash orange and it will stand out, and I will know, oh, you've sent me a question, and I will answer questions if you want me to talk about something or answer a question about something. So do that, and let's get into the topics. So first of all, this. So this is kind of interesting. There are several problems with this statue. Let me explain what this is. Apparently, in Fukushima City, they commissioned a statue for children, basically, to give them a sense of encouragement about the idea of the, you know, the rebirth and the remediation of the nuclear, you know, of the radiation cleanup for Fukushima. And so this artist created the statue, and well, there's several issues with it. Apparently, the article here talked about first, you know, in the end of the day, when this was released, people primarily thought this would actually just lead to more, they call it Fuhyo Higai, which is like damage and harm caused by reputation loss, you know, which obviously Fukushima suffered a lot with the multiple nuclear power plant meltdowns. You know, and it makes it hard for them to sell their vegetables when people associate it with radiation contamination. And this was supposed to talk about the revitalization of Fukushima, and instead it doesn't. So among the problems with the statue that people pointed out when it was unveiled, apart from the fact it scared and disturbed children, first of all, it's got like it's supposed to be a Geiger counter on its chest. and it's showing 0, 0, 0, 0, and people said immediately, well, in nature that's not possible. I mean, even in the cleanest uncontaminated place on earth, nature naturally has a certain degree of background radiation. I mean, that's just, you know, the sun is radiation. So having 0, 0, 0, 0 is just completely ridiculous, you know, is the first thing. The second thing, you know, is all those band-aids. He looks a little bit sad. He looks a little bit sad. I don't know. I mean, what else can we think of, you know, that's wrong with this statue? Well, yes, the other thing is that the plugs are not really naturally located. And no matter what you look at, no matter what you debate about the accuracy of the Geiger counter or the artistic styling or the pose, pretty much all that people do is look at the vent down there, you know, and it disturbs, it scares children, it disturbs people. I mean, you know, and what are you supposed to do with this, right? It was unveiled, and I imagine they took a curtain off, and everyone was pretty much stunned. Literally, it actually says that people at the unveiling were stunned. They couldn't clap, they didn't react. I mean, this is their revitalization of Fukushima statue, and they looked at this. And so, yeah, you know, maybe he's just really excited about radiation. Maybe it's true, or the lack of radiation. But you know, truth is, you can only really notice one thing when you see this. And you know, for you know, reducing the trauma of people in Fukushima, the statue has been decided isn't the right thing, and they've decided to take it down after the negative reaction. The artist has said they're going to rethink the project, which is probably, I don't know, just a few minor adjustments. It could be a lot better. But yeah, I think back to the old drawing board is. I mean, how could you come up with this in the first place? I mean, that's the question I would like to ask. But in any case, I mean, listen, if I was going to go into a highly radioactive area and I wanted, you know, if I could pick the places to have additional protection, I mean, kid's got a point there, you know. Or kind of, I don't know what that, not exactly a point, but you know. Awkward. Anyway, so that's what's going on in Fukushima. Disturbing statue to make people feel better. Of course, Japan's always working itself to death. You always hear about this. What's interesting about this discussion, it's more a broad discussion, which I think isn't just limited to Japan. It's this thing about the gig economy, and this idea that, yeah, you know, as a Gen X, I know Gen X hits middle age and gets to be cynical and sarcastic. It's horrible, by the way. I mean, I still hate generational labels, although I can't help but coming back to it with this. But when this whole thing came out about the gig economy and how, you know, like working was going to change, people weren't going to be permanent employees anymore, they were going to do whatever work they felt like doing on the day and get a stable income, you know, basically on a cooperation-based economy, helping people. Nice idea. I like the idea. Probably good if you're like a student and living at home or whatever and have a lot of background, have a decent safety net. But you know, the more that the economy is becoming based on contract work, and particularly in Japan, these were reforms that happened under Koizumi in 2003, where the intention was to add some flexibility to the labour market by basically allowing, you know, the idea was 10% of people to be working on contracts. Now it's like more than half that, and you have permanent employees, you have contract workers, and you have part-time employees. I still maintain that I respect kids who have basically flipped the bird at the man at companies that no longer. Oh, there's a bug flying around me. Pardon me, I might randomly slap myself every now and then, and if I do, it's because there's a bug flying around me. You know, basically sticking it to the man. I sort of get that, but you know, and saying that, you know, this is a demand-driven economy, and we are going to do the jobs that we want, and companies finding it hard to hire people and whatnot. It's good on the one hand, but the other thing is that, you know, what seems good and kind of, you know, freedom reinforcing when you're in your 20s, you get into your 30s, and these jobs basically they're still being asked to do fundamentally the same work for less money and less security, and this is the thing, as kind of becomes inevitable, you end up seeing a lot of people being forced to work under really worse conditions. Mr. Cordy Chip, I won't be embarrassed, don't worry about that. So yeah, this isn't Uber drivers and stuff like that. It's a slightly different conversation to that. But the idea that the economy is being pushed basically towards contracts. If you wanted to look at this as a cynical ploy by wealthy, employment elites to undo unions and workers' rights and make the economy easier to manage, you could say that they've kind of succeeded. I think I saw a question there from Sergeant Milko. How could the job market be tight in other reports when they have a lack of workforce? Well, this is kind of the point. The problem in 2003 that the labor reforms were trying to fix was that the labor market was inflexible. It was tight in the sense that it was overemployed. People, companies were basically unable to, were dying under the crushing weight of they weren't earning money, they were failing as companies, and yet they had all of these employees that they were prohibited from being able to restructure or move out. And a labor market where people didn't expect to move around and go to where there are new successful companies. They don't easily move. So there was a lack of fluidity in the market, which the hope about introducing contracts was that they would increase the flexibility of the job market here and let people go and work, where the jobs are needed. The problem is now we're dealing with, as you say, a different situation where there aren't enough workers, and at the same time, the companies are trying to attract them with labor conditions that were made for a time of overemployment, and now there's underemployment. So yeah, it doesn't really work at the moment. They might have to think again. I mean, there were certainly legitimate problems that the employment contract system was trying to address. But yeah, we're in a different situation now, so that's kind of interesting. The J-Vlog has a question. That pissed me off this week when the wife was denied credit. She's on a pension and that is guaranteed income. Was this in Japan, the J-Vlog? Was it overseas? In Japan, certainly. I mean, I didn't get a credit card for like 8 years, and I was working in one of the premier financial services companies in Japan. I was on a permanent employee career track as well. So yeah, it kind of sucks, but yes, in Japan. Is your wife Japanese and on a pension? I mean, it's kind of interesting. But the other thing about Japan and banks in particular is that it's a thing that the banks are not lending out money. I mean, even the government's been trying to push them to do it, forcing them to lower rates to make credit easy to get. But at the same time, banks are just, so conservative. They're hoarding cash, as are companies. Companies have been given, reduced corporate tax and everything in the hope that they would go and increase wages because the government wants to generate inflation. And the companies and the banks are not playing ball. I mean, this is why Japan's just been stuck in the cycle of deflation, is because they are so reluctant. And the reason that they were traditionally reluctant to give credit out to people and give loans was because the industrial loans that they were forced to give by the government to like construction projects all ended up being bad loans that didn't come back in. And so they had no liquidity. All of these banks were basically operating insolvent in Japan. And the ones that operated normally or went out of business, and the ones that were super tight and did not give out money to anybody survived. And they're the only ones that have survived. And it means that even today, it's hard to get loans. And the thing is, in Japan as well, there's always been a situation, a horrible situation, where when people need money, and in America, like you want to start up a business or whatever, or do something on your own take a chance in life, you go to the bank in America or Australia or New Zealand or Britain or whatever. In Japan, you go to the bank to start up your own business. Oh, you might get a loan, but generally, you go to consumer lenders, which are one step away from loan sharks, which have always been huge in the Japanese economy. I mean, the whole organized crime economy in Japan is based primarily on loan sharking first. And it exists because banks in Japan are so conservative. They won't give out cash. So, yeah. So how do the banks make money? Well, good question. They basically they hoard cash. They make interest off the investments that they make with the cash, which was also regulated until, like in America, they've changed all the regulations so that now banks can use, savings, basically savings assets in more high-risk markets, like, for example, equities and so on. And this is what's wiped out banks in America, but now they can do it in Japan as well. And some banks are struggling with that as well. But basically, of transactional fees, And once you have money in the bank in Japan, as you all know, the interest is a joke. You don't make money from the interest. They don't give you interest. They make interest for themselves with your money, but you don't get any of that interest back. All you get is transaction fee. Your money disappears in the bank in Japan. You basically lose money. And this is another reason why Japanese take out such huge wads of cash and use cash all the time still. Because it's, you only use the bank in Japan. You don't use the bank in order to improve your savings. You just use the bank as an alternative that it's too dangerous to keep it in your mattress, because there's more burglaries nowadays. So it's tough, and with all of that in the background, the labor market is trying to change into something a bit more like a normal market, but it's stuttering, because in the end of the day, even if the contract style changes, the work style doesn't change so so easily. So isn't the non-existent interest rate of banks a thing everywhere? It's become like that, but the thing is that where certainly other central banks have lowered their interest rates as well, but Japan's been has been below 1%, for 20 years now. It's like they can't do any more. They're printing money like crazy to devalue the currency. They're doing everything, and it's not having any impact. So the story, first of all, Fukushima residents complain over the statue of child in radiation suit. Of all the problems, the biggest one is the one that's just Mr. Cordy chip. That's ridiculous, but that is how it is indeed. I mean, you're lucky that you're even staying even on that. This is a follower of Busan Kevin. He sent this to me, and he said, "Look at that cloud. It's amazing." I looked at it. It's just a picture of you. Oh, that's a real photo. That's a cloud. And it's a cloud, yes. If you believe in the second coming or the first coming of Yoda, that is indeed a pretty awesome cloud. So take a minute to contemplate the awesome Yoda cloud, and give me a minute while I just blow my nose. So let me turn off the sound for a minute. Pardon me there. Back again. Isn't that a nice cloud of Yoda? So much for the so-called trickle-down effect when corporations and banks hoard money. Well, yes, that's right. I mean, this is the whole thing in Japan, is that there's always been this coordination between the government and the bureaucracy and business, and it's kind of broken down the last 20 years because businesses actually found it can collapse, and it's just spooked them all, and maybe that's their excuse. But the government's been pushing companies to push more money into the hands of workers, and they're not doing it. This week I was having a conversation with somebody we were having a conversation about how it's become more normal lately for foreigners coming to Japan, coming and saying that they're coming because they're interested in anime. And it's something that I used to feel very awkward about. Not that I wasn't really into anime that much, but when I saw the reactions of my Japanese friends in the 90s to anime otaku Japanese, and to the gaijins who said that they were coming for anime, there was kind of a social elegy to them. I mean, they were a tribe. Otaku was a tribe, but it was a quasi derogatory term back then. It's become more fashionable and tolerated now. And this blog, So You Want to Learn Japanese, from stmoroki.com, this exists from I think about 2000. I mean, I'd just come to Japan when someone wrote this, and it was very accurate for the time. It's less accurate now, it's showing its age, but it's still as funny as hell. I don't know if you guys know this, but I want to share it because it came up in a conversation when we were talking about how you can always tell the people in your class. Basically, this is a blog, quasi-accurate, based on a true story, trying to discourage people interested in learning Japanese from learning Japanese, and explaining all the very good reasons why you should not learn Japanese. It's a brilliant blog. Just look it up. So You Want to Learn Japanese. Just look it up. It's in my magazine here if you want it. But going through all of the going through all of the reasons that you shouldn't learn Japanese. Reason one, it's too hard. Explanation of the writing system, including how combinations of kanji are totally illogical. Like, for example, politeness levels. This is actually a brilliant. Japanese teacher. Good morning, Harry. Harry. Good morning. Japanese classmates. gasps of horror and shock. That's true. That's actually true. That's not even joking. I mean, this is. I remember getting called out for being too cash with my Japanese when I was being careful, and I know the difference. But yeah, you just can't do that. Grammatical structure. English sentence. Jane went to school. Same sentence in Japanese. Jane, school Jane, 2 went, monkey, apple, carburetor. But what I particularly like, Japanese people, the problems with Japanese people, which is just that they're too perfect, pretty much, detail oriented and all of that, and they don't tolerate people wearing dirty clothes and stuff like that. But reason through your classmates, I love this. The anime freak. Basically everybody, 3 types of students, and this was true on my day, and it's probably still true today, but the 3 types of students are the anime freak, the know-it-all, and the deer caught in headlights. Do you guys know this? I got to read you the anime freak. It just came up and it was just so funny. I mean, I love the thing down the bottom. You can be sure that your class, at least half your class, anime isn't real, but you can be sure that at least half your classmates think it is and will spend most of the class time asking how to say things like crystal tiara in Japanese. This is true. This exists. I mean, it kind of existed back then as a bit of a joke. I thought it was hilarious, but it's actually real now. But yes, it's well worth reading. It's a good read, so go check that one out. This is not related to anything. I just thought this was amazing. This is the cast of Back to the Future 2, recently taken a photo of them getting back together. Michael J. Fox, for having Parkinson's, I think is amazing. He looks great for where he's at. Doc still looks like Doc. Michael's mum, what's her name again? Her name is Lorraine. Yes, what's her name again? She was on like Howard the Duck as well. She's kind of cool. I always liked. She was one of the great. She was in a lot of very good 80s movies. But check out Biff. When you think of the characters playing in 1985, playing their 2015 selves, and here we're 2018. So after that, I mean, damn, Biff really did. I mean, hell, Donald Trump actually did become president, and Biff actually looks awesome, right? So. I mean, it's kind of funny. They actually look better than their makeup, future versions of themselves that were shot of them when they were 30 years younger. Bill Clinton. Some Japanese people actually made the comment that he looks like Bill Clinton. Kind of hard to imagine him in a tracksuit washing Michael J. Fox's car. Although I suppose money-wise, that's still possible. It's a possible outcome. But yes, I thought it's just a cool photo, and it got lots of attention on Japanese internet. This has been an interesting one this week. Oh, his mum must be so proud. So an IT employee had a big night with the lads and was on the train going home, and he saw an awesome looking chick and thought that he would walk over. What train line was this on, now that I come think of it? There are certain train lines that are just infamous for this sort of thing. Taito Ward, that's a bad sign. Taitoku, that's where Ueno is, basically. It's kind of getting ghetto-y. And he was on a train. It doesn't say which exact train he was on. But, yes, in any case, apparently, based on the clothes and appearance, I thought he was a woman, and apparently went up and groped the woman, and then forcibly kissed that person. 48 years old, an IT engineer, apparently works for an IT company. When he was arrested by the police, apparently he said in his defense, not that he didn't grope or whatever, he said, I thought it was a woman, which I guess he thought meant it must be okay, which in any case means it's a good thing that he's in custody. Yes, I mean, I bet his whole day was ruined, but at the same time, yeah, it's a bit not good. I mean, this is just bad in every single way. That this person, basically, this was his excuse. Interestingly enough, I've had Gaijin friends who have said that they've been groped on trains before as well. Certainly with women, if you ask them, it happens an amazing amount of time. Of the time. It seems like most of Nichan was actually partly feeling sorry for him a little bit, but most of it said, well, he deserved it, and I guess he won't be doing it again. Personally says there's no one but victims in this story. No, I mean, 間違って男キスして逮捕されるはもう散々だったわ。So it's kind of funny. People are expressing sympathy for the train grouper, but hell, I mean, just desserts. Anyway, I thought that was a funny story. In any case, continuing the tourism boom in Japan is still going crazy. Still lots of foreigners coming in July, during summer vacations. 2.8 million foreign nationals came into Japan, more than 5.6 up from the previous year. And of this 2.8 million, 0.8 million of them were Chinese. South Koreans are down, as are people from Hong Kong, but still a large number of Chinese coming in. Lots of flights from Thailand and Vietnam. There's been a huge jump. Apparently in like the last 3 or 4 years, the number of Vietnamese in Japan has gone from like somewhat 20,000 to 300 or 250,000 was the number I was just reading today. So it's kind of amazing, actually, the jump in the number of Vietnamese coming to Japan, and the prominence that they've suddenly taken on. They're on the verge of displacing, I believe, Chinese as the second largest group of foreigners in Japan. But yeah, as tourists as well, they're continuing to come in, and Japan has just become amazingly tourist friendly. I thought it was a huge joke. I've said this over and over. I thought it was a huge joke when Koizumi made these pronouncements of how many tourists he wanted to attract to Japan. I was like, well, first you got to know how to look after tourists, and Japan will never be that country. And it is. Japan's really turned it around, and it's been amazingly tourist friendly. So that's sort of good news. Again, having spent all this time working to build my channel, I saw this and I was like, oh crap, oh no, YouTube's improving subscriptions. It's a worry for me. But they're not exactly doing that. They're very emphatic that they're very happy with how the algorithm is working for them and for their viewers. And they've found, even when they've offered people the option of looking at their subscriptions alongside the algorithm choices, people choose the algorithm, which I'm totally cool with as well, because I don't want that to take over what I want to do with my channel. But they are offering for something like 0.25% of English viewers, English language viewers of YouTube. They are putting they're going to make subscriptions more visible. I think that's a great thing. But still, if you want to watch YouTube through subscriptions, you've still got the best site now. Teaching my channel, I should make that more prominent there. There we go. My channel TV. You know, you've still got that, which is still the best way to do it. But yeah, it's good that YouTube hasn't forgotten about subscriptions, and that they're going to try to keep people interested in them. Certainly I think it's the best way to keep up with and support people on the platform. It's the best thing for supporting creators, and that's what I've got it there for. So yeah, I think that's pretty good. I've been watching some Netflix this week. I actually watched I'm watching like 2 things at the moment. Better Call Saul, the new season is available in Japan, and I'm enjoying watching episode by episode at the moment. I think it's probably for the translation, it's a little bit later than the US, so although actually they're pretty good at keeping up to date with that. The other one is the American season 6. They just released that all at once, and I really don't like it when they do that, because you just binge watch and you don't sleep. I know that they do that on purpose. I like the Americans, maybe the first 3 seasons, as tends to happen when you make too many seasons of a good thing. It tends to get a little bit stale, and I did think it was getting a little bit, season 5 was a little bit depressing almost, which I guess, given that it's about Russians, is perhaps okay. But season 6 of the Russians, I finished watching it, and it is much, much better than season 5 and 4. I think season 6 was actually pretty good, and the finale was, I found, very satisfying. So I highly recommend that. Better Call Saul is just awesome. I mean, I love Breaking Bad, and I'm a lawyer as well, right? So it's actually, as a lawyer drama, it's actually really good. But you sort of had this problem in the seasons right now that the character of Saul is still very disconnected from Jimmy. You know, is still very disconnected to the Breaking Bad character. And at least all of the hype about this season 4 of Better Call Saul is that we're going to start seeing Jimmy really decline, you know, and become close to the character from Breaking Bad, and see how all of those connections, how that world comes together, and we can already see it, and I love that. I think it's really, really cool. Yeah, lawyer dramas, you don't have to like, well, you don't have to like lawyer dramas, but the point is you've got all of these great subplots and characters, you know, the Salamanca family, and the Pollos Hermanos, you know, chain, and the setup of all of that. I love the training videos on Facebook for the, by the way, for the Pollos Hermanos, how to work at the restaurants. It looked really great, actually. You know, Gus Fring, he looks like a great boss. So yes, I'm enjoying it. It's a very good series, and I recommend it. I watched a movie last night, The Titan. It's not very good. You shouldn't watch it. On the plane, by the way, I watched Rampage, which was not bad, not great, and Ready Player One, which I loved. I won't give any spoilers, but just the general concept of the movie, which I think is well known enough, which is that basically it's a movie set in a virtual world, based upon the pop culture that the creator of the world, who made the world in 2025. I opened that and it made that he liked, and the idea is that the creator was like a bit older than me in 2020, and died in 2045, and the movie is set in 2045. So the idea is that all of these kids who are like treasure hunting in this virtual world are experts in late 1970s and early 1980s pop and gaming and technology culture, which I love. I mean, it's a little bit, even for me, it's a little bit too old, a lot of the references actually, but I still enjoy it, and it's nostalgic and it's cool for me. But the idea that a kid in 2045 in order to be cool, it's going to be really into 1970s and 80s culture, is like us now being really into 1940s culture. Like, being a total expert on jive music, and I don't know. So I kept having that reality break while I was watching it. But that said, even with my inability to suspend disbelief about that, I liked the movie. I thought the movie was really well done. It's Spielberg, what do you expect? But it was pretty good. Also finished watching The Toys That Made Us, which I just liked. It's a good season. It's a good series. 5 scary Japanese foods and why you should try them. Very BuzzFeedish title from Gaijin Pop, but they've been writing okay stuff. So from Audrey Fu, 4 foods, the Beta Beta Yokan. This was a food that I couldn't eat when I first got to Japan, and I think it's a palate thing. My palate changed when I got to Japan. And yeah, it's the texture of manju or yokan or azuki or whatever that you get for these blocks. The fact that it doesn't taste fully sweet is like sweet, but it's a weird kind of sweet, and it's like beany kind. It's like crushed beans kind of texture. It was always a bit tough, and I found this with yokan as well. I wouldn't say, if someone hands out yokan, like they've been away on a trip and they're walking around with them, I'll take one now and I'll actually enjoy them. And I think it's more that my palate's changed. Which is to say, I don't think if I was giving this to myself 20 years ago that I would like it, or I could convince myself to like it. But I think when you've been in Japan for a while, you come to enjoy that. Tsurusuru Tororo. Yeah, this is another one as well. So typically on rice with like maguro or sushi or something like that, like or you have it on like a genmai, on like a brown rice. It's basically crushed potato, ground potato, but like mountain potato, so it's like sort of sweet potato. Again, nothing really against it. I don't think it makes things particularly better, but you'll eat it, it's good for you. It looks a little bit slimy or whatever and disinviting, but it's pretty good, made of yame, but that's the thing there. Saku Saku Inako. So this is, in fact, let me get this right. Is that actually insects? Oh, this is like, okay, well, I've never tried that, and no, I'm not into eating grasshoppers, but I'm sure they're okay. Puri motsu, so motsunabe. Again, this is more, I associate this with being more sort of Korean type food, but yeah, in fact, offal. Well, I guess if you like honomonyaki or whatever, I mean, Japanese eat all the stuff, and it tastes fine. I've never had a problem with it. Shirako is funny. Fish sperm sacs, and I know people who still refuse to eat it. Again, it's just part of a fish. I mean, I don't know. I've got no problem with shirako, although I understand how psychologically it can be a bit of a barrier for people if you think too much about it. But there again, the fish gave its life for us. I think it's only polite that you should eat it. The Gens Konto has a question. Hiko Simon, how about a boring tourist question? What do you reckon is the most overrated tourist thing in Tokyo, and the other way around? The most overrated thing? Well, let's go through the cliches in Tokyo. Underrated and overrated. The cliches are maybe Skytree. I've never been to Skytree, and I've got very little interest in going. I think it's overpriced. The queues are there, and it's like way out in the suburbs, and not in the good part of Tokyo actually. Tokyo Tower is in an awesome part of Tokyo. If you want to go to a tower, go to. So maybe Tokyo Tower underrated, and Skytree overrated perhaps. Ameyoko is one that comes up a lot, but actually I think Ameyoko is cool. Akihabara comes up a lot, but I like Akihabara. Harajuku comes up a lot. If you're into the fashion around Harajuku, in fact, and not just Takisadori. I mean, Takisadori is just nuts, but just the how crazily busy it is in itself is kind of an attraction, just to see a busy, crazy place like that. But also like not just the girly shops. If you're like a dude who's into fashion and can wear Japanese sizes, which I can't, but I have friends who can. The streets around Harajuku are also, I think, some of the best shopping in the world, actually. I go around with my friends when he comes over here to go shopping. I'm like jealous. It's like, I can't wear the shit. And it's frustrating. So I don't know. I mean, Harajuku is awesome. I love Shibuya. I love Shinjuku. Odaiba I really like as well, and I recommend Odaiba to people. So I'm just thinking, in terms of like stuff, I mean, I suppose Asakusa. Yeah, maybe Asakusa. Asakusa I think is a bit overrated. You get the Kaminari-mon. I feel like you sort of have to go there, and that's genuine old town Tokyo. So it's kind of like kitschy in a way, but it's kind of real. That town and the culture is different. I find it a bit grungy in that part of Tokyo, but it's because it's so old in a way as well. So perhaps Sensoji and you know, but there again, I mean, it is a landmark, and it's part of the character of true Tokyo, of Edo. So I can kind of sympathize with it. Maybe, but I'd say maybe Skytree. And actually, Asakusa is really close to Skytree, by the way, as well. And it was put there in order to revitalize that area and stop making it so crappy. So maybe I'm a bit prejudiced against that part of Tokyo, but maybe Asakusa and Skytree are overrated. And underrated, yeah. Tokyo Tower, in a way, is still old, but it's like awesome. Shinjuku, all the old neighborhoods there, they're not underrated. I think they're correctly rated. The back streets, I always find actually neighborhoods like Ebisu and so on are not so well known to tourists, or Nakameguro. They're more sort of for locals, but there's lots of cool stuff there. Yeah, you know, I don't know, there's my answer to your boring question, but I'm very happy to do it. Question from Limpa: how is gym bodybuilding culture in Japan? Don't know if you know anything about it, but you're keen to see it yourself since you love gym bodybuilding. Gyms are super common. Japanese love gyms. I mean, my life was saved by a gym. When I was living in Kashiwa, after I broke up with my fiance, when I got to Japan, I was cut off from all of my friends who were friends through her and her. And it wasn't that we had a bad falling out. She wanted to go date her boss, so it was just kind of awkward. That was all that it sort of was. But so I'm living in Kashiwa in a new neighborhood. I don't know anybody except the people that I'm working with. I'm getting very stressed out by work, so I realized my health was getting bad, and I joined a gym. And the friends that I made at that gym playing squash became my surfing friends, and they saved my life. I mean, you know, saved my Saturday and my life. So. And yeah, there are sports gyms everywhere. In terms of like actual bodybuilding, the thing about Japan is that people take hobbies super seriously. So I don't know much about bodybuilding culture in Japan, except other than I'm sure it exists, and I'm sure that the people who do it take it super seriously. And if you were to find them and meet with them, you'd probably find it's like bodyboarding. So in Australia, you know, there's more professional bodyboarders in Australia than there are in Japan, and there's far more people who bodyboard in Australia than in Japan. So when I came to Japan, I started to go bodyboarding, and my friends were like, wow, they asked me, how long have you been bodyboarding? I'm like, I didn't even understand the question. I've been doing it since I was like 8 years old. But when I went out, the thing is, in Japan, it's a very small group of people who bodyboard, but they all go and watch professional sort of videos, and where all I ever did was like just ride on big waves with big diving fins on my feet and just try to stay on the wave. I come to Japan, and everyone who is bodyboarding is like doing spins and loops and stuff like that, like you see on videos of professional people. I was like, whoa, you know. So it's sort of like everything that you do in Japan, skiing, every hobby, skiing, you know. People take it super seriously. I'm sure gym culture is very big in Japan, and I'm sure if you find bodybuilders and they exist, I mean, there'll probably be communities and gyms that they like to go to, and you start talking to them, you'll find that they're really awesome to talk to if you're into the subject. Question here, speaking of clothes, you're 6'5". Will it be hard for you to find clothes to fit into? Laugh out loud, says Lempa. Yes, I am 6'1.5". I'm almost 6'1". I'm 185 centimeters according to, I gained a few millimeters, so I can now say I'm 185 centimeters again based on my last health checkup. And I'm not quite 6'1", and I really struggle to buy clothes in Japan. Uniqlo is great. Uniqlo, since they've come out, they make really cool clothes that are affordable, that don't look like crap, which, I don't know, like Gap clothes and stuff, they never really fitted me very well. And the great thing about Uniqlo is they keep all sizes. They actually have sizes that I can wear, which was a revelation to me. I really struggled for a long time, still 6'5". I think you're going to struggle even at Uniqlo. I always, every company I've ever worked at, there have always been Japanese people taller than me, like a few Japanese people taller than me. I've never been the tallest. And I always walk up and I ask them, first thing I ask them is, where do you buy clothes? There is a fat and tall shop in Shibuya, and I was disappointed to discover it's much more fat than it is tall. Even when they're like XXXL, it's like it's too short in the arms and it's like a parachute. So I don't know. In my early years, whenever I went to Korea or Hong Kong or Singapore, I would stock up on clothes. Or I'd go back to Australia, I'd get it like bloody Kmart and just stock up on clothes. Which is kind of horrible. It's better now than it used to be, but still, if I buy clothes, I generally get them when I am in other countries. That's all you can do. It saves you money. The against Konto being 2 meters tall, I guess nothing will fit me. Thanks for a great answer. Wow, you are 2 meters tall. I do have one other tip for you. Okay, I'm 15 centimeters shorter than you, and when I was in Kyushu, I hope it's improved, but when I was in Kyushu, I hit my head on everything. In Tokyo is better. There's higher clearance on most things in Tokyo. It's like they seem to take into account that people can be taller than 180 centimeters, which they still don't in a lot of rural parts of Japan. I mean, a lot of Japan was made when Japan was malnourished, and everyone was like 5 foot tall. And even like the old part of Tokyo, you go into Ueno, there are parts of Ueno station that still have all of these warnings all over them for, you know, for me, I would get really badly hurt if I wasn't like hunched over walking around that station. So 2 meters, yeah, you will find discomfort. You'll gain positive attention from it, but there you go. Sergeant Bilko, who is that Hiko-Simon guy keeps twittering along while you are live on YouTube? Oh, am I still tweeting? The reason for that is I use Bufferly, which is it's say when I'm going through and I'm finding articles to share. Sometimes I put them all very quickly. Plus, I do it. I would never do it at work. But if I did do it at work, I certainly wouldn't want to post the posts to go live during the work hours. So Bufferly is really nice for me, meaning that if I find something that I want to share, it'll post in the time when people are not working and responsibly looking at the internet on their own time. And that's why tweets are going out now. The against Konto, that's your experience when you come in. You rarely hit your head because you've already done it 100 times. Yeah. I have a story actually from New Zealand where, again, I'm not 2 meters tall, but I remember once I was rushing to get off a bus and I sort of jumped as I went down and I hit something, and I think it was possibly part of like the thing which sticks out for the door to operate the door. I hit like that on the top of my head really hard. It was just really embarrassing. It's like bang, made a huge bang. And I was like, oh geez, I'm so embarrassed. I just kind of put my head down and kind of walked down the street like nothing happened. And as I was walking down the street, you know, the thing about the head, which I learned playing rugby as well, you know, a minor scrape will bleed quite a lot. I remember walking and feeling like something's falling. It was like the movie Carrie. Blood started streaming down my face. I just cut the top of my head. It wasn't even that serious. I didn't need stitches or anything like that. But yes, I was just walking, trying to pretend nothing happened, and then all of a sudden I noticed that, and I had like long blonde hair in those days, and boom, all came down red. It was just horrible. It's funny, that doesn't really happen in Japan because everything's so low that you just get used to bending over actually. But yes. So what else have we got in here? Japanese internet, sad to see the word chikan being commonly used in English. Sad Japanese internet is sad, but what are you going to do? I think the word groper is perfectly equivalent. I mean, in New York subways they talk about gropers, they're the same thing. I don't think it's such a unique. We're not talking about Eskimos and snow. It's not a word so common that they made a word for it where we don't have one. We have words for it, but apparently the Oxford English Dictionary is going to add the word chikan. So yes, there is that. I mentioned at the start of the broadcast, but I'll say it again, if you're in Japan or able to come to Japan, and particularly, specifically able to come to Tokyo on September the 1st at 7 PM and can spare 3,000 yen, which you'd spend at any place going to Roppongi for drinks anyway, and this is nomi hodai, all you can drink. and the Tokyo Sports Cafe, a sports bar with screens all over the place that will be playing My Chan TV of all the people at the party, of all the channels of the people at the party, and be able to hang out with me, with Victor, with all the other beautiful people that are coming from all over Japan and from overseas to be at the most awesome party of the year. It's in the middle of summer, in the middle of Roppongi, in a bar which is going to work whether it's raining or sunny or whatever. Best party of the year for people in this community, and it's happening in 2 weeks time, so get your A's over here, and it will be very, very awesome to see all of you guys. I'm going to bring some of My Chan TV shirts like the ones that I wear to give away, so if you're there, and I'll figure out a good way to give them away. But yeah, it's going to be pretty awesome, and it'll be awesome to see you guys there. So be there or be square. Seriously, if you're in Tokyo, I'd love to see, and for you guys, it'd be awesome to get to meet you guys in person. So I'd love it if you're able to make it. If you could come along, it'd be great to say hello and see you there. So that's the first thing, is the party RSVP. It's on Facebook. It's getting shared around now. I'm going to do a real push in the next couple of weeks. But it's a great bar. They love us. We're good patrons. Customers. And yeah, they've done really good for us. So we'll be using the Tokyo Sports Cafe again. So I wrote a blog this week talking about My Chan TV, and let me talk about this. It's just sort of, it's like, what did I make this for? And this is the thing. I really want creators. I met Tikyo Sam and Victor Gonzalez this week, and it was like, I just realized, well, people know them, people who don't. But I met two guys this week, and I was talking about the site and what my thinking behind it is, and why I really made it as a creator. Creators used to support each other by subscribing, and we were the biggest commenters, we were the biggest subscribers, we were the biggest likers, because partly because we wanted it back, and back in the day, those likes and subscriptions and good vibes were what it was all about. There was no money. And YouTube sort of changed, but I think it's coming back, and I think the way these parties have been revitalized in the last few years sort of shows that. But it also, I want to support that revitalization. I think this is a great tool for creators to actually recommend to people, because it means that the logarithm works great. The algorithm looks great if you are a huge channel, and you're going to be in the recommended list anyway. But for the long tail, which is the vast majority of YouTube, people, I think, are getting over the idea that they're not going to be making full-time living as YouTubers, and they get as much satisfaction, if not more satisfaction, from the interaction. For me, it's all about the comments and the conversation on the side there. My AdSense last month was like $3. I'm not doing it for the AdSense. I'm doing it for the likes, and subscriptions are what keep your audience engaged with you. Is what keeps it's the main motivation. And My Chan is there to make that easier to do. That's what it's for. So let me read the blog to you, actually, because I wrote this the other day. I was putting together some thoughts that I had, but here's my thoughts on the community. And maybe I'll do this separately, actually, but yes, so here it is. So, back in the day, YouTube was all about the community. There was no revenue sharing, including, everyone, including YouTube itself, was just trying to figure things out. They had no idea what they were doing, and neither did the creators, and everyone was just making crappy videos. So video quality was routinely terrible, but at the same time it was full of people experimenting and trying to figure out how to make YouTube the powerhouse that it has inevitably become. Everyone knew YouTube was going to be huge, and everyone was trying to figure out, how are we going to make it huge? It's like this thing with all this potential, this unlimited creativity and access, democratized video creation. And people were all trying to figure out, well, it's not making any money. How are we going to get it? YouTube's trying to figure out how to get it to make money. YouTubers are trying to figure out how to harness it and replace television. And everyone knew that future was there, and no one was sure how it was going to get there. So they were just trying stuff, mostly running around bumping into walls, but they were doing that. What YouTube and creators understood back then was that so long as the site attracted lots of creators and lots of viewers, it would eventually figure out a sustainable business model. So the most important thing at that time was that to ensure that there are ways to encourage creators to stay motivated and to stay on the platform experimenting. And the original magic source that did this was the community. It was basically the group of people on the site that were there keeping, give feedbacking to creators with positive comments and likes and whatnot. And the thing about the community is you didn't need to be a creator to be in the community. You just needed to care about other creators enough to support them by hitting subscribe and showing support and encouragement with a comment and or a like, and spreading the word about the creators that you like. The community will lift up worthy creators and tear down perceived bad actors. And the most passionate YouTube fans were often creators supporting other creators. So the subscriptions box used to be the beating heart of the YouTube community. This is the point. This was where people kept up with friends who were posting, and where, in the absence of ad revenue, people would reward good creators with likes and comments. There's no question that the transformation of YouTube since monetization has been natural, inevitable, and you could mostly say it's even a good thing. Why is it that Google gets all the money from clicks on videos and creators just get likes and vibes? So YouTube did the right thing to enable monetization and has transformed the site over time. But I must say it's also absolutely transformed the community. The biggest change is that I think, while there's no question that the quality of content from the site has improved dramatically, for those chasing the dream of making a living on YouTube, it matters more to chase the algorithm than it really does to chase the subscribes and likes. You know, these help. Engagement with followers is still part of being a professional YouTuber, but it isn't the be-all and end-all that it used to be. It's also better business for YouTube to be able to recommend fresh channels and content, and to drive views towards content that data shows to be engaging, and that's good for advertisers also. So there's no question that there are good reasons that the algorithm has gotten better and better, and YouTube has hardly updated the subscriptions functionality at all in 10 years. Which has become more of a niche feature for hardcore users and old timers. However, this explosion in the scale of YouTube means that the community has started to take a back seat to big data analysis and dollar chasing. This makes sense for the biggest and most popular channels on YouTube, and YouTube itself. But the point is that there remains this enormous long tail of creators and fans on YouTube still trying to get their channels noticed, or trying to get them started up. Or people who are just happy making videos for smaller audiences, that's getting drowned out in the noise of the hordes of people being herded towards the watch next videos and away from their subscriptions box. Here in Japan, I've seen the community go through a rise and a fall, and I think a recent resurgence. I think that the original rise was based on a community genuinely being community first. Hang on a sec. I think that the original rise was based on community genuinely first being the key to success on the platform. The fall was linked to the site reorienting itself towards data after monetization, and the community no longer being as critical or as worth the hassle to deal with. And this was something that we saw. People didn't see the value in coming to events or meeting up with their crazy stalker fans and all that sort of stuff, and it really declined. Yeah, I think it is coming back now, not because YouTube has changed, but because long-tail YouTubers, so the 99% YouTubers, have learned that while monetization is nice, for most YouTube will only ever be a hobby, and whatever size channel you are, having a base of loyal subscribers that come back to watch your content and support you, i.e. a strong community, is as good in many ways as having a nice AdSense check. I mean, for me, it's actually better. So look, I'm a creator, and I made my channel to make it easier to get back to supporting my creator friends and letting other YouTube fans support the channels and networks that they love. It's basically a tool to give the features that YouTube would have if it had developed as a community-based site rather than an algorithm one. It means parents don't need to nervously look over their children's shoulders to check that the algorithm isn't taking their kids onto unsafe content. And it means that people who want to catch up with their friend's channel don't need to get distracted down recommended video rabbit holes. It means that we can all watch the content that we go to YouTube to watch without constantly needing to click back and forth just to stay on that path. So look, I've got developers who are helping me, and it's awesome. We love YouTube and the way that it has grown and the way that it rewards creators. But with my channel, you can enjoy a version of the site that makes it easy to watch YouTube by supporting creators and puts you in control of the content that you watch. And that's the idea of the app. Hey Lara, good to see you. Very glad to see that you are okay as well. I think so. You're in Genoa, right, where they had that bridge accident. I saw your status as safe, which I was very glad to see. I'm glad to hear that you're well. I'm glad that you made it, Lara. So yeah, that was me sitting and writing down bug. Part of the thinking of what I really want to do and how I really want this to be for people who are into, both for creators and people who want to support creators. That's what the app is about, and it's awesome and it's stable, and please go and check it. And I say that a lot, but go do that. We're running out of time now. What have we got the last one? Oh, this was just kind of funny. So apparently Japan Beverage. What was the name of the company? A branch manager of a Japanese beverage company apparently told their worker that they manage that they will only be entitled to receive their vacation that they apply for if oh dear, I'm sorry to hear that, Laura. So this person will only be entitled to get vacation that they were applying for if they passed a quiz of that manager. And they were serious that apparently, and if they got the answer wrong, then they would forfeit their right to vacation forever. They actually said this, and they actually gave a quiz with this threat. And the internet reaction was, oh, this is a real black company, i.e. a really abusive workers company. Again, kind of ridiculous, obviously not a company strategy, but the stuff that can still happen if you join the wrong one. This is just kind of funny. The Suzuki Jimny, the SJ413 and the 410 in New Zealand. In Japan, they actually sell them as a 660cc version. In New Zealand, they sold a 1 litre and a 1.3 litre version. But basically, these old boxy Suzuki mini Jeeps. They've been around forever. They've just released a facelift of these cars. This was a car that I didn't buy, but I wanted to buy when I was a 15-year-old in New Zealand. I love these things. Apparently, this new version of the Jimny, they call it in Japan, they call it the Suzuki Jimny, and it's like apparently there's a 1.5 year waiting list now. There's a backlog of orders for this car. They underestimated how popular it would be, which is very, very cool. This is kind of cool. I saw this. So this is a map of Japan based on where people either put wasabi directly on food or where they mix it and they melt it in soy sauce. So I'm in mixing with soy sauce there. Although, you know what? If you look at Tokyo really closely, it actually says Tokyo is green. Green is actually putting it directly on, whereas Chiba and Ibaraki there are melting. Although in Tokyo you do get people, I myself put wasabi into soy sauce and mix it in and melt it when I eat, but it's kind of very, again, I have no idea what scientific basis this map has, but it basically melts in shoyu is the blue, and green is just puts it straight on and eats it. Another interesting fact about wasabi in Japan is that apparently most of it's actually just mustard with coloring. It's not actually real wasabi. Is actually pretty rare and hard to find, and it's delicious if you can find the real stuff. And that's it. Oh, you know what? I didn't even put in the Obon Jovi thing. There's apparently there's an Obon dance, a festival being held in Tokyo. A couple like yesterday, and they were playing "Living on a Prayer." Somehow they got away with it because Jazzrack, the copyright organization, is really tough on this sort of thing. So apparently all these old people are dancing, Obon, Japanese style dancing, to "Living on a Prayer." And apparently Bon Jovi itself, it went viral on Twitter, and Bon Jovi itself loved it, and they retweeted it. And they actually called it Obon Jovi. I don't know, I thought it was kind of cute, and it was a nice way to mark the song and to end the show. So I hope everyone's having a good Obon. We are, as I said, if you can make it to Japan, please make it along to the party and RSVP, because I will include you on the playlist to be shown at the party. If you can make it, where is the party info? It's on September 1st, 7 p.m. At the Tokyo Sports Cafe, and it will be awesome. We will all be there, and it will be great if you can make it to Tokyo to join us for that. Otherwise, I'm going to be back next week. Please, everybody, check out my Chan TV, RSVP the party, and see you next week. We will be back for more stuff. If I have any more time, free time next time, I'll even make a track or two. Hope you're all very well. Stay safe. Jim Gates, good to see you. I'm sure I've missed some people in the comments there. And Quid Rankin, good to see you as well. Have a good week, everybody. King, good night from Australia. Good night, Australia. Have a good week, everybody, and peace. And J-Vlog, maybe next year. Be good to see you. Oh, sorry about that, Sergeant Booker, but still, keep watching the vlogs, and yes, see you again next week. Okay, see you later. Peace.